Okay, everyone. So this is for the using the enrich analysis tool in the data lesson. So let's get started. All right, what we're going to do is we are going to learn about we're going to map out the use of video game consoles using Enrich, which is one of the new analysis tools for you. So we're looking we're looking at video game consoles, Sony PlayStation, Microsoft Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Can we identify geographic patterns in their popularity? All right, so we start by new map. Let's search for layers. We're going to add a USA states, generalized boundaries. And remember, when it says USA states, generalized boundaries, that is a layer where every little inlet and things is not that carefully drawn. It's more averaged out, and that's totally fine for our uses. We're just generally looking for the states, so I make sure I add that. Okay, that's what we need for now. So we have USA states here. I'm going to center up my map, all entered, and I can see it right here. So now I go up to analysis tools, go to feature, and I'm going to look for data enrichment. And we're going to go look for data within the analysis tool. So most other analysis tools, the other analysis tools don't actually have new data in there, but this one layer does. So we're looking for game console data. So we use analysis tools, data enrich layer, here we are. So we want to enrich the 50 states with the following variables. All right, so we have the states layer, that's in number 1 right here. Now we want to go select the variables. So I want you to notice a couple things. Once we go to select variables in number 2, we have a couple different things we can do. We can search in the data browser. We can look in all the different sort of like households or education. There's lots of different data within this enrich layer. There's also up here, we can look, United States, we can look for other countries. So we can set that differently, or we can look for different years. So we could go to 2023 or 2024. We could also go to landscape if we wanted to see sort of tree cover, forest cover, something like that. So we are going to stay in, let's do 2023 because we want a full year of data. We're not done with 2024 yet. So we're going to go to Esri 2023, stay in the United States. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to search for the 2023 index of households that owns Nintendo Switch. Let's see if we can find that. So in here it is. We want the index. We're going to grab that. Okay. We also want, I also want to add, I want to search also for the 2023 index for households that own PlayStation 4. So let's search for that. Let's click that and apply. So now we have 2 selected variables, as you notice. There they are. All right, we can come back. Let's search again. I want the 2023 index for households that owns an Xbox One. Okay, and let's search for that. And there it is. So this has been easy to find. It's not always this easy to find. I've given you the exact names, so we kind of know what we're doing. All right, we want to now, we've got our households. Note that in the assignment it says, like, an index means that 100 is going to be the national average, with numbers above and below 100 represent above and below the national average. But when we're at 100, that's going to be the national average. So let's apply this. Come in here. You can leave number 3 alone. Remember, I always have to name things. So I'm just going to put at the end here, MES, whatever period. Okay, you are. All right, so current map extent, do we keep it checked or not? When we are doing an analysis, if the analysis is going to go off of the page, we want to uncheck current map extent. What that means, if you check the box, is that it will only do the analysis within the confines of the map that you have. So I now have everything within the confines of this map by zooming out a little bit, and I can leave it checked. The benefit of leaving it checked is if we're doing more extensive analyses with a lot of data points, it can be cheaper. So let's just check and see. So I can do show credits. That's going to tell me, all right, how much is it going to be? So this analysis with these 3 variables is going to be 1.5 credits. That's not bad. It's $10 for every 100, and we don't pay for it, but they do kind of fuss at us if we use too many. Esri does. Okay, so let's go ahead. We should be all set. I'm going to run this analysis with those 3 data enrichment layers. So our layer has come in. It took a couple minutes. That's fine. So now we have the enriched layer here, and we want to, number 5 in slide 12, we want to make 3 copies of this. All right, so let's make a copy. Let's make another copy. So we now have 3 copies of this. And I am going to rename one. I don't want, it's not USA States anymore. What I want this to be is Xbox Index. Okay? So that one's Xbox. Now I'm going to rename, I go into the 3 dots. I rename this one PlayStation Index. And I rename the other one Nintendo Switch Index. All right. So we're all set. So now we can go in to change style. We want to style them in counts and amounts color using above and below. What does that mean? So let's go in. We'll do the Nintendo Switch first. We go into change style. All right, and I want to do, this one is the Nintendo. So I'm going to grab that index here. And I am going to go into, I want to use counts and amounts color. That's what it said. So we go in here, counts and amounts color. Now I want to use above and below. And if you notice, I go into the theme, I want to use above and below because I want my index to be at 100. So I'm going to get my middle one to be right at 100. Okay. And then I'm going to put this at the top and this at the bottom, so it looks like this. So I've got my middle marker right at 100, and you can see here what my histogram looks like. Okay, so this looks great. I'm going to actually zoom in so I can see the states. I'm not so interested in Alaska, poor Alaska. And this is how I want to style this. So I like my colors. I'm fine with my colors. I could change them if I wanted to, but we're all set there. So now I say, okay, that locks it in. And notice I now have, I can turn on my here. So this is states that have above the national average for owning a Nintendo Switch. And on the red side, those are below the national average for owning a Nintendo Switch. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing for PlayStation and for Xbox. I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. Okay, now that you have all 3 maps, here's my Nintendo Switch map. Let's put a legend in here. Turn off, there's Nintendo. Here's PlayStation. Make sure you show a legend. And here is Xbox. Make sure you show a legend. And there we go. Those are our maps. So you're going to put those into the next 3 slides, 14, 15, 16. You're going to paste, do a screenshot, put those in. All right. Now, we want to do another thing here. So what we want to do is do a predominance analysis, and we can do that in change style. All right, so we need one more copy. So I'm going to take one of these, my upper one here. I'm going to make another copy of it. It's going to come up here. I'm going to rename this. Let's rename my next copy. We did this okay, the other day. Predominance of video games. Okay, that's the name of my new layer. All right, so I can turn these all off right here. I'm going to turn off my USA states, and I've got predominance of video games. So what do I do in there? I want to go into change style. All right, and I want to come down and I want to add an attribute because I want all 3 of these attributes. All right, so I now have a Nintendo, my PlayStation index, and my Xbox. I've got all 3. That opens up a different set of options for me, okay? So I could work in predominance, I could work in predominant category and size, I could work in relationship and size. There's different things in there that you have access to. But today we're gonna work on, and I encourage you to go in and kind of like look around at those. We're gonna look at predominant category here, okay? So let's look at options. Now, we can manually change legends when we come in here. We could either grab like a colorway, what we call a colorway, or if those aren't quite right, we can do what we want. So let's, in the assignment, it says use red for Nintendo. So I'm going to just go over here. I'm going to use red for Nintendo with a red outline. All right, I want to use blue for Sony PlayStation. That's already blue. That looks good. And I'm going to use green for Xbox. All right, so let's get a nice green for our fill and our outline. There we go. So green, red, and blue. Nice, clear colors. And then we don't want nothing. We want something, let's do gray. When there's no predominant, when 2 or more are equal, okay, we will do this. And I'm going to actually, they look so flat and the others have transparency, so I'm going to up the transparency on those gray. And actually, my fill, my outline should be maybe just a bit darker on there to match the others. Okay, looks nice. So that's a nice looking map we have right there. And depending on how dark they are, or what color they are, that tells us which type of video game is predominant. All right, looks good. All right, so the only other thing, so there you go. Here is your predominance map, and now you know, okay, which ones have the most, are predominant for Xbox, which ones are for Nintendo, which ones are PlayStation. There's so many uses for this tool in change style. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is let's also in this lesson configure a pop-up, okay? So we have that done. There we go. Now we want to make pop-ups. So we said we'd talk about that. Let's go into our 3 dots for the predominance layer, and we're going to configure our pop-ups. All right, now what's a pop-up? Pop-up is when we go to a state and we see information. All right, so this is our enriched layer for the state of Utah, has a lot of information in it. We want to limit all that information. It's just too much. It's not that helpful. So let's go in and we're going to configure pop-up. I go to the 3 dots, configure my pop-up. Now, so the things I want you to do, we're going to show pop-ups, pop-up title. All right, I want to just have the state name. So see, it's in brackets. It's just going to pull whatever the state name is and put it in the title. But I don't want it to say enrich layer. I just get rid of that. Nice, clean. It's going to say the state layer. All right, the next thing we can do, I want to display a field of attributes. Yes, so I need to come in here. I want to configure. Now, if I double click on display, it'll turn everything off. I've already got the state name in the title. What I want is to come down to the bottom and I want to show all 3 indexes for each state in the pop-up, but I don't want to show anything else. This is all I need to show. All right. There we go. So let's do that. The other thing we can do is we can actually make a graph of this. So if we want to, down here, pop-up media, display images and charts in the pop-up, I can add a chart. So let's add a bar chart or a column chart. Let's do a column chart. All right, we want to title the column chart here, compared to the national average of 100. Remember, that's what our index was called. All right, so we'll title our chart that. So what are my chart fields? Again, I want the 3 indexes. And then it's just going to nicely show those 3 indexes. Do we want to normalize them? Nope, we don't. The index is already normalized, so we're going to leave it like that. All right, so now I have configured my pop-up. I say OK. I'm back out of edit, and now let's look at our pop-up and look at what we have. We have a really nice pop-up there. It has our titles, it has our index, and we have this. Now, I can see where I can clean this up a little bit more. Notice I have 2 decimal places. I don't really need that. And I kind of want a nice, cleaner title over here. So I'm not completely done with my configure pop-ups yet. So let's go back in and just fix those 2 things to make it a little bit cleaner. Let's see. Custom attribute display. All right, so I went back into my pop-up, and now I want to show you what I can do. I can go into configure pop-ups, and do you see how I've marked the 3 indexes, but I don't like the way they name it. It's too long, all right? So I want to just change it to Nintendo Switch, okay? I can change the text here, and I'm just going to change it to, simplify it to Nintendo Switch. I'm going to come down here and simplify this one to PlayStation. So I just erase everything before that, PlayStation 4, and we'll leave that. And then I come to here, same thing, I can just get rid of Xbox One and just simplify this. And I don't want the 2 decimal places. They don't give me any information. So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna say 0 decimal places, okay? All right. Now I've got all that, shortened it up, okay. Now let's look at it and look at what we have. Oh, well, it didn't do it for all those, so let's go back one more time. Configure pop-ups, configure attribute. I want all these. I have to individually turn them to 1 decimal place. I want all of these to 0 decimal places, and then that one. Yeah, so now I individually click on them and they all have 0 decimal places. Okay, and now let's look at, lovely. So now I have my Nintendo Switch for Colorado, 107 relative to the index, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and we have that chart that shows that. So nice, makes a nice pop-up. So there you go, that's how to configure pop-ups. All right, take a screenshot, go ahead and open one state, doesn't matter which one, show me an open pop-up, and take a screenshot of this map showing your predominance. Make sure you have a legend showing over here, and then an open map, an open pop-up, and this is your map. Good job.